right, welcome back to the Darkening of Mirkwood. When last we left our heroes, battered and bloodied from their battle in the woods on the eastern shores of the Long Lake, the party saw to their wounds and briefly interrogated Blada the Easterling as he lay dying of the vampire's bite. Which is not an Anne Rice novel, it actually just happened in this session. He assured them that they were too late. Morwen had found, quote, the heir, and that his next mission had been intended to take him to the land of Sunlending in Gondor, under the shadow of, quote, the Holy Mountain. After some debate about what to do with the bodies, the party decided to bury them on the shore of the lake, more or less, and subsequently return to Lake Town. There, they were taken by the pudgy and slow-witted guard Captain Berger to a cell where they rejoined Nar, who had been having adventures of his own in the meantime, in jail. The two elves, Denethor and Calimiriel, took this time to visit one of the Sylvan elf lords dwelling in the town and relate to him what transpired. This news was swiftly carried to Lostier, the chief of the Raft Elves, who attended the trial at the town hall the next day. There, Nar was put on trial for his so-called crimes, and after several witnesses had been called and the finer points of the law were long debated, it was ruled that Nar should pay a very reasonable weregild, which was completely out of his means. Just then, Lord Orelmund of Dale arrived, pledging that King Bard would stand for the weregild, allowing Nar and the rest of the company to go free. Orelmund expected that he was passing through Orelmund explained that he was passing through Lake Town on the way to his holdings when he heard of their plight, sort of by chance, if chance you call it, as we say in Middle-earth, after being invited to return with Orelmund to rest for some time at his castle on the wood's edge. The party resolved instead to stay in Lake Town for the time being and plan their next move. They returned to the rooms at the Listing Raven, where Warsong found a beloved and familiar face waiting to speak to her. Her brother, Alaric the Woodgoer. And that's where we'll be picking up tonight in this our 98th session of the Darkening of Mirkwood. So, we're going to pick up with all of you, but I think probably particularly Warsong, as this is her brother who has crossed no short distance to come and see her. So, Warsong, you've gone up to your rooms, and there you see us on the table in your room. A small meal of mostly bread and wine and a few other things has been laid out on the table, where it seems like Alaric has sort of been probably making up for lost meals on the road. Mm-hmm. And he kind of beckons to you all to help yourselves, although there's clearly not enough here for all six of you.
So everybody's up there? Oh yeah, because they were following me upstairs. And I ran ahead.
Yeah. The tea is in fact quite hot.
And they did not my brother because they were
right.
darn
So yes,
loud.
you've seen. You can draw your own conclusions. You've seen Warsong rush forward on the stairs and embrace this woodman who is a few years her senior, and the two of them have gone upstairs. So Warsong, Alaric says, "I tell you what, you're a sight for sore eyes. I was when I got to town earlier, they said that you'd been taken to prison or something, and
It was it a, it was a whole thing, but we're done now. It all is well. But why are you here, Alaric?
well, I suppose to see how your mission's gone."
To We rescued Lady Astrid, but it's complicated. I can't take her back. There's the woman who took her, the dark lady, the Morwen. She's that's complicated too.
I see. Well,
How are things at home?
uh, well, as you say, they're complicated. Um, kind of strokes his beard for a moment. I'm afraid it's all bad news. Lord Kewina has he's changed.
Fantastic.
Changed how?
He's grown increasingly moody. He's taken to drinking rather heavily at feast. Just shortly after you left, he went into a rage during a feast and struck one of his thanes in the eye, blinded him in his left eye. He paid the Meta Wergild for the injury, but also a lot of trust from his followers after that. But it's not just that. A hard knock now and then from a war leader is, well, a bit uncharacteristic for Kewina maybe, but not unheard of. But it's Berthagund. She's
What about her?
she's taken to sitting in Lady Astrid's seat at table, and well, there are rumors that she and Lord Kewina, well, I mean, I suppose more than rumors.
Alaric, that is not Berthagoon.
Well, if you insist, but
Berthagoon never left Lady Astrid's side. We rest long.
sorry, you.
Real Berthagoon. We rescued Berth.
Ah! You keep cutting out somehow. Don't know why. And it's not a bandwidth thing. It's just that your mic keeps muting or something. We'll get you a better microphone before next time. Could you try one more time?
We rescued Berthagoon along with Lady Astrid.
You're gonna. Well, then who is it back?
I don't know, some trick of the Morwen. Of the lady that kidnapped her.
I'm certain
She took
to.
the boat and then left Berthagoon, the fake Berthagoon, the one who is not real, behind.
I'm
For
certain
this
to
very reason.
really not like this woman.
I have tried to track this. Yes, she is the
Right. So.
The reason Lady Astrid can't come is because she is under a curse. It's the location curse. If here's a goal. Okay, just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, go to bed. I'll be back in a minute. A few minutes. Several minutes. Okay, well, you finished with the words. Take the kitty. Go to bed.
Sorry, guys.
It's alright. We're all playing with kids, yo.
It would not be a session of tour if my children did not interrupt it, though.
Good night, dear. I'll be back with you.
All right.
That is the most tolerant cat.
Such a long-suffering cat.
Lady Astrid is under a withering curse. The longer that she is away from the tower of the Morwen, or the farther she goes from it, the sicker she gets. And I don't know that I don't know how bad it will get. I know that she has not been improving. But I am afraid that with a curse like that, if I were to take her back before the curse is broken, that she may not survive the trip or perhaps the journey back. She's very weak.
Perhaps you'd better hear the rest of the news.
Go on.
Well, obviously, father and mother aren't the sort of people who, who have a taste for that sort of thing. And many of Lord Caewina's followers, and I suppose myself included, have left Sunstead.
You've left?
The Mordern, the man whose eye Lord Caewina put out, he has built a hall a few miles away in the wood. Many of us have moved there to live under his protection. It's not ideal, but, well, you can imagine how difficult it's been at Sunstead for all of us. And things are getting worse. The wild men have been seen more and more in the woods. And Lord Caewina's thanes hunt them openly like animals now, but despite that, they seem to be growing in numbers. I think they're all a little afraid of Mordern, though, so they don't give us any trouble.
The wild men?
The wild men of the forest, the spider's thralls. Easterling Wainriders have been arriving more and more, ostensibly for trade, and Lord Caewina spends long hours shut up with him in his chambers, always with Berthagund. I know that your quest is urgent here, but we'd hope that you could bring Lady Astrid back, that maybe she could sort this out.
I'm afraid she wouldn't survive the journey. I know how to break the curse, but it requires the blood of the woman who put her under it, along with her true name. Or possibly the blood of one of her descendants. So, to save Lady Astrid, I must kill the Mormon or find one of her descendants and find her true name. That is the next step. If I don't do that, I don't know that there is any way that Lady Astrid could be with her husband. It's such a long journey.
And there's Emelina's in bad health.
What?
Started a few weeks ago. She's, well, some imbalance of the humors perhaps, but she's grown so pale now, and she's troubled by dark dreams. Even her herb lore hasn't been enough to help her. I don't know why I came, really, except, well, I thought that maybe if you and your friends had gotten everything sorted out here, then maybe you could come home, but...
Even Baron can't help?
I think he's very afraid. To see his wife, to see our sister falling away like this. I don't know what's happening to Sunstead. I don't think any of us were prepared for just the depths of malice that were being poured out upon us.
I've brought
Sorry, say again?
if I brought Berthagoon, the real one.
I suppose that might work. I don't know that that would solve all of our problems, but maybe some
At
of them.
least it might show that the one that he's with, she must, if she is not the Morwen herself, and I don't know if she is Morwen or if she is.
That's amazing, Augusta.
I'm really sorry about that.
Oh my!
We're also sorry for Turin's mom. And I guess Theoden's mom.
I don't care. I mean, obviously I can tell the difference, but it's sort of weird.
But
That would be like me playing in a game and finding out that the main villain was named Combat Wombat, which is somehow even less likely. Anyway, go ahead, Soph.
worst villain name.
Yes. Or best.
Maybe. Don't ask for it. I play mostly villains. I have wondered whether it is the Morwen in disguise herself as Berthagoon. We've learned things about the lineage of Lady Astrid and Rowena in regards to their son.
Their son.
She was pregnant, remember?
I see.
It's been some time since the child was born, and I was not able to save the child as well.
So,
And I'm getting a phone call, and it's probably
yep. Take it.
sorry, y'all.
While this is going on, what are the rest of you guys doing? Are y'all just following Astrid up to y'all's rooms, and hearing this conversation, or?
I think Ongi is probably buying drinks for his new companions, and
Fair enough.
Generally because they all need a drink.
Yeah, that yeah. A bunch of you, half of you spent the night in jail. Most of you were beat to heck. Nar has just sold off a great portion of the treasure of his people in exchange for a mercenary army that he hasn't told you about. So
Yeah, so
okay, so you guys are downstairs. Is everyone else downstairs?
That's for Denethor's of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any reason to be anywhere else, so...
I think at the same time, since they weren't really in prison to sit around and talk, I think I'll try and catch them up at least a little bit on the Morwen and our interactions with her and the events of the Minas Morwen.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
At least theoretically, they have some idea of what's happening.
Now, do you guys actually have some idea of what's happening, or does Ben need to give you a recap?
I could still use a recap. I've been meaning to finish watching the videos, but I've only made it through one so far.
All right, Angie, you're up.
Lovely. Well then. To refine my accent here. So. It's all started. Which that's totally not it. I hate it when this happens. It happens every once in a while, and I just it's gone.
That's all right. Just start. You'll pick it up. Show us your toes. Show us your toes. That's your.
That's right. So there I was, in the dark, horrible pits of the Morrowind, surrounded by Easterlings and orcs and other foul things so foul I don't even know their names. And then this one orc, yeah, something Snake. I don't remember his full title. Something the Snake. He grabs me, apparently out of spite for the moment, and runs off into the waste, whereupon he is attacked by another group of brave adventurers. I am rescued, and then I kill him. Actually, it was pretty amazing.
It actually was pretty amazing.
Yeah, right. He and I locked in hand-to-hand combat. I says, "Look at me," and he looks at me, and I stabs him in the eye. Not see it coming. In any case, I comes back here to, I think, to Dale, right? I don't remember. But anyway, I falls in with these folks. I finds out they are hunting the Morrowind. And, right then, I feel like I can't really do this recount justice. But, generally speaking, everything awful that's going on everywhere is probably the Morrowind's fault, or at least somehow connected to the Morrowind somehow. So, stands to reason that if we get a little bit of vengeance for this foot here, then we can save possibly all of the free peoples of Middle-earth. So, we do some research, reading around, or goes to see Gustav, which, let me tell you, he is not a conversationalist. I get myself the lineage of Lady Morwen and Kaewina written in piss on a piece of parchment.
That is what happened.
Oh, he takes it back, and right, that's right, that was in Lake Town. And then I takes it, we go to Dale, and all in all, we figure out there's this tower out in the wastes, which is actually, and I'm remembering this now, is actually where I was being held. So, me and my mates here, and a few others, this was all of us, right? And, well, except for Argus. Oh, that's right. That's right. When I caught up with him first. Oh, this is going to get a bit sketchy here. A bit out of order. But then we caught up, when we first things first, all they met up with me, and then we goes to try and find their friends, because I'm there looking for Fra, and so we looks for the road warden, right? And we find out that the Merwin has sacrificed him to some horrible thing in a pit, along with another elf, rest her soul. And then, so we kills this thing, and then we starts the thing on fire, just to make sure it's dead. And we goes in there, and there's a lot of dead things in there, and pulls out a lot of other treasure, and then we goes back. Then that's right. Then we goes back to
Wow.
does all this research. Then we goes up to Dale and make sure that the right people know about it, and then we go to the Meanest Morgan. And let me tell you, that was not a homecoming I ever wanted to do. But right, we goes up the tower. Did you know she has a door to nowhere up there? And I don't mean like just a door that goes on to nowhere. I mean, like just opens onto a pit. It's a door to nowhere. There's like a void. There's nothing there. But anyway, we managed to check the other side, not fall in, and then we goes and right, we find Lady Astrid, and she's got this horrible wooden baby, which she's quite convinced is her actual blessed child. And at any rate, me and Naya, we managed to get the horrible thing away from her, start her on fire, because that's what you do with horrible things, in my experience. And I don't know if we actually broke a curse and made it worse, but at least she's not singing to an horrible wooden baby anymore. After that, let's see here. So we goes up a little further. We runs into a room where they're theoretically giving us some sort of feast. It's not actually a feast. Wait, no, this happened before we found Astrid. That's right. Well, it's in the tower. He flows below. But yeah, no, that couldn't turn out badly because most of us got put under a magical slate. But then Warsong knows a magical song that Astrid taught her about how to break enchantments, and so we get out of there. And then we goes up a few more floors. We finally get to the top, and the top we find that the Morwen has a whole bunch of books. Well, I assume some of them are magical, but the rest of them are books of lineage, whereby she is apparently tracking the lineage of the kings of Dale, and we assume that she's attempting to somehow concoct or create or manipulate or otherwise mess with the lineage of the kings of Dale, potentially inserting herself and or her evil spawn into the equation. Then after that, we found her treasure room, and then in her treasure room, we found an amazing gem, which Niall then proceeded to take for his own.
Necklace.
And what?
It was a necklace.
Necklace? Well, it had gems.
Fair enough.
And then the door closes. Half of us are on one side of the secret door, in with all the treasure. The other half of us are in the room, starting everything on fire, and up comes this Droger. Or did you know, all 8 feet of undead, wheezing, grunkly fresh, and he comes in there, and we end up having to fight him. And then, meanwhile, the whole room is filling with smoke. And eventually, we kill him, we kick him down the stairs, and then we gets back down and finds the secret passage that my friend Noe, who I did not even mention before this moment, actually knew about. Then we goes down the stairs, and we gets to the evil and royal pits, where I was originally being held. Then we goes through, let's see here, and we rescue Tudela, who I hope, blithering hope is still alive, well maybe we ought to check on that.
Tudela was the fellow that your comrade gave a crack on the head?
Right, and we were supposed to, right, while we were in Lake Town, we met his beloved, the concubine of the late and unlamented Blader, that's right. And our friend Warsong here promised to rescue her love, and then later to come back and rescue her, and well, it's a whole thing. And so we rescues him, and then we goes into this pit, and Noel meets the most beautiful dwarf woman he's ever met, which turns out, well, we'll get to that point, I guess, but she's very into Noel. She tries to look for flirtatious dwarven mojo, as you might say it, on me. But,
it doesn't actually say anything. Come back.
Or I like to go about things a little more traditionally, if you know what I mean. But in any case, we goes back up, we sneaks past the Eastlings, and a bunch of wolves, and then we fall into the passage, and we sneaks our way out, and lo and behold, the entire roof is covered with egg sacs for something orbital and buzzy. And I'm not sure what exactly it was, but I'm pretty sure they were giant wasps. We killed a couple of them, and then we ran like heck. And eventually, we made it out of there, we found our horses, who thankfully had not been eaten by anything awful, and we rode back across the wastes, and arrived here in Dale, just in time for Noah to start murdering people. Wait, we're not in Dale yet, are we? We are in Dale. We tell everything that happened to Lord Vigrid.
You did leave out the one good part.
Yeah, good part in here.
Well, Kona and you stabbing your best shape, man.
Alright, so, Kona was not actually real. Kona was some sort of illusion. Well, things happened. I ended up stabbing my friend. Well, at any rate, turns out Kona's not real. Don't ever listen to things that aren't real. It's not good for you or your friendships or other relationships. And anyway, we comes back to Dale. Lady Warsong goes in and has a big old powwow with the big mucky mocks there in Dale. I'm in the water house taking care of my shade man, and right, we got to go back to Lake Town because we're going to finish business down there. We tries to rescue, yeah, well, we tries to rescue Regalia. They won't talk to us because I wonder why not. but then, but then, so we just, follow. Yeah, eventually we end up. You know what happens from there. It's all right. That's recent history. That's literally like yesterday.
What happened to the woman that had the wooden baby?
Oh, Lady Asfred, she's still back up in Dale. Did you know that at one point, Bard and Lady... But that's important to itself, too. Lady Asfred used to have this horrible crush on Bard before he was king. And then he became king, and I guess he got too good for her, or maybe she was not good enough for him, or something like that. Anyway, then he... Anyway, she moves on, and falls in love with this Kaolina fellow out in the woods, who is apparently extremely generous, yet the ever possible meaning of the term. And then we come back to the anyway, then his proposal. She comes back to Lake Town.
But you can't interrupt.
And then the king proposes. Well, because his wife, the late Una, has died as well. Theoretically, possibly, apparently, killed by the Morrowind. No. Yeah, so they've a bit of a mystery, which, makes the whole fact that she's, recuperating in his lonely, lonely house a bit more interesting. Along with the fact that apparently her actual wedding is apparently back in Sunstead with fake birth again. I mean, it's like an episode of well, the stories that the dwarven mothers tell each other, where they're cleaning.
At this point, you see three pretty young dwarves just kind of sitting there with the pints in front of them, and they're just all staring at Ongi with just wide eyes.
Are these dwarves that have been there before?
No, they're just like, they were just sitting there at the bar when you started telling this whole story, and they've just been...
And you see the pretty dwarves?
No, young. Three very young dwarves. They're just very...
Oh, alright.
Just very...
I take them and I raise my mug.
Huh? Right, so thank you, Ben, for that incredibly elegant and graceful recap of the last 12 sessions. That was really a work of art. So just to, I think I've explained this to both of the newcomers at least a little bit, but for your purposes, and you'd sort of know this based on the things that you've been told by King Thranduil, the Morwen is... she's human, but probably of Numenorean blood, just given her lifespan and other things. She's a very powerful sorceress who seems to whose magic mainly seems to take the form of illusions and spells of deceit. She is a deceiver like her lord. The party has discovered that she has connections with and may in fact be the same person as a high-bred Numenorean lady who deceived and seduced King, gotta make sure I get this right, Valakar of Gondor before he was king. A long time ago. It was about 1,800 years ago, and had a child by him. Valakar was the king of Gondor who, before he was king, he married the daughter of Vidugavia, who was the king of the kingdom of Rovanian. The kingdom of Rovanian is the Northman kingdom that was at its height about 1,800 to 1,500 years ago in what is now Wilderland. And so all the woodmen and the Beornings and the men of Dale are descended from the kingdom of Rovani and all the Northman cultures, basically, including like the Aored, the men of Rohan. So, so she has connections going back to the earliest days of the kings of the dynasty of the kingdom of Rovanian, which has long since fallen. Actually fell to invasion by Easterlings, and also possible connection to the Gondorian royal family, or at least what was the Gondorian royal family before it fell. So that's as much as the lore masters of Dale and Esgaroth have, and the Woodland realm have sort of been able to piece together, based on things that various characters have uncovered during the course of the campaign. So, she has made at least 2 attempts on the life of King Bard, one of which resulted in the death of Queen Una of Durwinion, who is Bard's queen. Has generally sacrificed 2 of the player characters to Morgoth, and it's just sort of generally ruined people's lives for a while now. So, all right, so back in your room, Warsong. Your brother. Kind of sits there, takes a sip from his wine, kind of thinking on what you have, thinking on your suggestion here, and he says, I suppose if we could get Berthagund to return, we might at least confront the false Berthagund, and whoever she is, force her to show her true colors. I don't know if that would help Lord Kaowina or not, but if this woman has indeed laid a spell on him, at least she might perhaps we could break it or end it somehow.
The that was laid on Lady Astrid in Foundry made it nearly impossible to rescue her without destroying the things that it was in. I don't know if this being a person. I don't know who it is who is being concealed. But
And this
true Berthagoon was faithful to Lady Astrid. Truly done this. But never have betrayed her lady.
you say you know where this air that you need to break the spell.
He was taken.
Oh.
That age means to raise him and use him to.
No, not the air of Lady Astrid. You said you knew where a descendant of the.
Oh. I have scraps of poems and ideas of where to look. But I don't know if it is going to be a long search or if we'll find him quickly. I don't know.
What about your friends? Do they have any ideas?
They have many ideas.
Are any of them good?
That is more hit and miss.
Good point.
Sorry, y'all. At least you're out of the room.
Well, what should we do then?
They have been faithful and true. What do you say, sir?
He says, he kind of leans back and shrugs his shoulders and kind of rubs his head. Well, ancient sorceresses and curses and shapeshifters, and it's a little out of my league. What do you think we should do?
Some of the clues that we have found have pointed south. And if that was where we went to search for answers about the Morwen and possibly her heir, then if we were to take Berthagoon, if Lady Astrid, she might. That might be a hard thing to do. As I said, she is very pretty. But if she would be willing to accompany us, and we could stop at Sunstead on our way.
Two birds with the same stone, so to speak.
It may. Yes. At very least, maybe we can take Caroline's descent as weird if we attempt to save Lady Astrid. I have not given up on seeing. I went to rescue Lady Astrid, but I will not have succeeded until I've been able to bring her and her child home.
His eyes flit down to the bandaging on around your collarbone. When will you be able to travel again? What'd you say, Soph?
A few days. I don't need long. I'm used to harder things than I was.
I'll see about getting a boat then. When you're ready. If any of your friends would like to accompany us, but at the very least, we have to convince Berthagun to come, and we have to save Sunstead if we can.
Yes. Yes, we do. Have everyone, all of us, our family left Sunstead? Mother and father, is Annalena?
Aye, Emmeline and Baron have gone to live under the protection of Mordan.
Arno?
Arnold as well.
Well, I'll speak.
Wasn't Arnulf the one that died, Sophie?
No, that's the one that has been Vargas that died. He's one of Caroline's warriors, and it's jovial as
Oh, yeah, I have him.
Hildera. Nephew. It's
Yep.
been a couple of years, so maybe more than that.
Yep. Very well then. Take your rest while you can. I suppose might be as well to clue your companions in if they're as dedicated to stopping this woman as you are.
I think that they have personal reasons for making sure that the Morwen doesn't trouble anyone any further.
All right. So you head back downstairs to find Angi regaling your companions with a recap of essentially the last 4 weeks.
She's having majorly awful flashbacks of a much younger, much earlier war song. And when she had just started adventuring.
Man, I remember that war song.
Yeah, yeah. And she was too wide-eyed to be quiet when Narvi was talking in his cups. And that became a whole thing.
Yeah.
So I think she's probably going to, like, put her arm around Angi and, like, pull him away.
Alright, I was just bringing them up to speed. I feel like if they ate the Morwen and we ate the Morwen, and they're apparently coming with us. Apparently. I mean, I'm assuming. Then they have to know some things.
They do. And she kind of nods towards the three dwarfs.
All those ones. They're young, they're fresh, they probably need to know just how awful the world actually is. They probably just come out of their mind, they're looking up and down the street thinking, oh, look at all these big tall folks with all their money. All they want is some good smith working, or oh, they want us to dig their mines for them, or look, we could build them a new city or some such.
Did you hear him say that the world is practically chock full of beautiful dwarven seductresses? Aye, that's what I heard. That's definitely what I came away with.
I figure if they get that's what they came away with, I feel like they could probably figure out that bit on the road. And I'm not really gonna need to clarify, but
Man, I wish this was the first time that Ben had explained the facts of life in a game that I was running. So.
To relax when she hears the phrase "beautiful dwarven seductress."
Yeah. All right. So, is there anything? It sounds like at least somebody will be making a trip back to Dale to recruit Berthagund. Nar, you've been sort of contemplative and quiet that evening as you were planning your conversation with Lord Orelmund later that night.
Uh-huh.
Is there anything either of the elves would like to do, though? Any research the two of you would like to perform while you're there in Lake Town, for instance? Or anyone you'd like to talk to? Any preparations you'd like to make?
Oh, reset. I was supposed to remind you to do the resets.
Right. So, yes, thank you.
We can do it after y'all.
No, we'll do it right now while they decide if there's something they want to do. So, if your fellowship focus is wounded or weary, you gain a point of corruption.
Angi.
Dun, dun, dun.
am I your fellowship focus?
Yes, you are. Ever since we were like crossing the stream in the middle of the night. River.
That's right. Well, I think I'm not actually weary. It's sort of.
If anybody has me.
Okay. I assume you elves have each other at this point. So, Augusta, Calimero will take a point of shadow.
I'm super close to not being weary. Would we have gained back any endurance here drinking?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, then I am weary. I am sorry. Nar, are you weary?
Is this temporary shadow?
Yeah, one point of temporary shadow. Yeah. Nar, your fellowship focus is on.
What is this for?
So in Tor, you declare a fellowship focus. A fellowship focus is the person in the party that you're sort of focused on. So for instance, Frodo is Sam's fellowship focus, right? Sam looks out for Frodo. He tries to make sure Mr. Frodo has what he needs, and just sort of generally looks after him, right? You could say that Legolas and Gimli become each other's fellowship focus about halfway through the trilogy, or right around Lothlorien, right? They become each other's fellowship focus. Aragorn is probably Boromir's fellowship focus, though he doesn't want to admit it, during the Fellowship of the Ring. So basically, your fellowship focus is just the person in the party who's kind of important or special to you for some reason. And if at the end of a fellowship pool reset, so when the fellowship pool resets, your fellowship focus is neither wounded nor weary, you gain a point of hope. So that's one of the most reliable ways you regain hope. If, however, they are wounded or weary, you gain a point of shadow.
Okay.
Ongi like took off his helmet or something.
I would say that this happened, before we had this conversation. So
I know, right? I am literally within 2 or 3 points of.
yeah, sorry, bud.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Nar, you're not weary though, right? No, you were in jail the whole time, so no, you're not weary.
No,
But
I'm
I am.
not.
Here, have some more shadow, just what you need.
Nar, take another point of shadow because why the heck not? So elves, Calamiro and Denethor, I will say to start with, your fellowship focuses were each other because y'all were the only people that you knew. However, you can change your fellowship focus at the start of any session. So if you want to change it now, you can.
No, I'll leave mine on Denethor, and it's Calamirith.
Calamirith, darn it. Man, I was getting so close.
Saying it wrong all night.
Darn it.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
I feel like since we're still here in town, we should talk to that the Elven ambassador to Dale or to Lake Town. Where are we at? Sorry.
The Lost Deer?
Yeah, I had it written down. Lost Deer. Yeah.
Yep.
And gather some information if he has it.
There's definitely time for that.
I'm having a hard time.
Okay, 1 second, guys. That's the time for Spain. You were having a hard time sleeping.
Is there anything that you guys know that we should ask him? Types of questions we should ask?
That you should ask the elf.
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything he knows that's been going on, or
He is familiar with the town of Lake Town, and so he would know, right?
What's that?
He's a Lake Town local, as it were. So,
What's the question?
I'm just asking the rest of the party if there's anything they can think of that I should ask specifically.
Well, we still have to rescue Regalia, but I'm not sure that
yeah.
we have advice on that.
All right, so Denethor and Calamirith, are we going to talk to
Last year?
Lost Year maybe the next day at this point, I'd say. So you all rest tonight. So you recover 2 endurance plus your basic heart score,
Unless you're war song.
unless you have a treated wound, in which case you just recover 2 endurance.
When your treated wound doesn't go away until you're at full endurance.
That's correct.
I'm not weary no more.
Sigh.
Yeah.
I gave my reminder too early.
No, I mean it would have been from the start of the session either way. So.
Can we find Tudela? That needs to also happen.
All right, so it seems as though we are not leaving Lake Town anytime
No,
soon.
we're not.
Oh, we're not gonna leave them behind. We worked so hard to get them both alive and dead that we just kind of can't walk away from them.
That's fair. Okay, so we're going to start with Denethor and Calamirith. You two are going to go visit Lostir. And then we'll come back to the Dwarves and Warsong, and you guys can tell me what you are doing. And just let me know when you're ready to go talk to Berthagund.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Cool.
So many threads.
This is
the
the...
first week in like a month that Richard hasn't said hopefully to me. Maybe we'll get to the year-end fellowship phase.
I've given up. This is the adventuring phase that never ends. Yeah, I know that Nathan and Augusta can't tell this, but actually normally an adventure is 4 to 5 sessions, and then there's a time skip.
This one has been like 15.
This one has been since session 82, so 14 now. Yeah,
I thought I was being widely exaggerated.
yeah, 14 or 15 now. So this is, yeah. Anyway, it's always Lake Town. Anytime we go to Lake Town, we just get bogged down. It's okay. We're having fun.
Remember, a lot of the time wasn't in Lake Town. It was in the Moorwinds mansion.
I'm only 4 sessions.
That was a lot of sessions.
All right. Right. So, Lost Deer. Okay. So, the two of you find Lost Deer's house. Lost Deer doesn't actually live in the town proper. He lives in a small but very elegant house on the western shore of the lake, pretty close to where the Forest River flows into it, as he is the chief of the raft elves of Mirkwood. So he's sort of in charge of seeing to it that the rafts of provisions and trade which go up and down the Forest River make it to their destination safely. And that includes the timber which the elves of Mirkwood trade to the men of the lake and dale for other goods. And the house is built by the elves, and so although it is a proper freestanding house, it is still, it's quite elegantly built and designed. And when you arrive, Lost Deer seems to know of your coming ahead of time. He seems to be already aware of your coming, and you recall that Lost Deer is friends with many of the birds of the lake, and he often knows what is passing in and around the area around Esgaroth before many people do. And so when you arrive, you cross the bridge over to the western side shore, and it's about a 30-minute walk to Lost Deer's house. And when you arrive, he has already set a table, and of rich white loaf, a number of different fruits. There are a few fish which are slowly roasting over the fire. The smell of butter and onions is kind of wafting across the shore to his house as you approach it. And as you come in, he beckons to the two of you to sit down. Well then, my friends, how can I assist you? What errand does our king send you upon?
Well, first I wanted to thank you for your help yesterday. And the work doing with some of our new friends.
Well, I'm afraid I wasn't perhaps as helpful as I would have liked to be, but the King of the Wood exerts much influence in Lake Town, but it is sometimes important to not lean too heavily upon that, lest the men of the lake grow resentful.
Well, our purposes for trying to free them from prison was to gather information for our king's mission that he sent us on. And we have learned many things in the last day or so. And I was wondering if you had heard any news or anything of note about goings-ons here in Lake Town and the surrounding areas.
Two nights ago, as you may well imagine, the birds of the lake told me of a dark shadow huge and hungry, making its way south towards the southern tip of the lake, and then beyond that, southward of the forest. But it has passed beyond the rumor of my friends. There are, of course, evil things abroad, in the waste to the east and the north, orcs and wolves, and men out of the east, servants of the enemy, I fear. Not all of them, perhaps, but many of them. Certainly troublesome times. Was there something specific you wanted to know?
Nothing specific at the moment. We have an idea of this evil that you speak of 2 nights ago. That is primarily the quest that our king has sent us on, and we've been trying to gather whatever we can, information-wise, on this creature.
I see. And I have travelled rather far, but I'm afraid I'm not learned in the lore of such things. Of course, our enemy has had great vampires in his employ for ages. Where do your journeys take you next? Have you found the answer to what you sought, or?
Everything we've learned seems to be pointing us toward the south. That may be where we head next.
Well, I've had some travels to those lands. Long ago, I travelled down to our kin, who once dwelt at the mouths of the Anduin. That has truly been a long time, though. I do not think that elves still dwell in those lands. So, south away then. And what are you hoping to find?
We are hoping to find. Well, we've been hearing stories of an evil person named the Mirkwood. Have you heard of this name?
Only what you have had. A black Numenorian, one of the king's men, so to speak. And you think you will find her south?
I think that this vampire bat that you speak of, what we saw several nights ago, and no one are one and the same. That is only speculation.
He turns to you, Calimirith. And do you share this speculation?
Well, I think that our companions have the best lead. Our new companions, the people that we just met up with, seem to have the best leads so far. So joining them and aiding them in their cause would be prudent. Sounds like this Morwen creature, whatever she is, has stirred up trouble for quite a long time, and our new companions have lots of personal reasons to make sure she's destroyed.
You've got to be careful about those personal reasons. They can sometimes cloud the judgment, but the fall of King Orufer at the Dagorlad is a cautionary tale to us all. But if your new companions have reliable intelligence, then it sounds as though you have set your course. Is there anything I can do to speed you on your way? It's been a long time since I travelled into those regions, but if you could tell me where it is you're going, perhaps I can give you some knowledge of the place.
Did you mention that?
Well, it was Dorwinian, right? But
Dorwinian's
outside-
east.
Oh,
What Bleda said in when you guys spoke to him as he was dying was the name Sunlending.
ah,
Have you heard of Sunlanding? Lost it.
I suppose that might be its name in the tongue of the Northmen. Yes. This refers to Anorian of Gondor. It's a largely unpeopled region. It's between north of the White Mountains, between the mouths of the Entwash and the holy mountain Mindoluin. It's in the dominion of Gondor, but largely unpeopled between the lands of Gondor and the Rohirrim. Though I can't imagine what this Morwen would have, what business she would have there. There are very few people that dwell there. Some farms, but no cities. Except Minas Anor in the very east.
Is it possible that she could be hiding there, or have at least a hideout there?
I mean, it's a very large tract of land. I suppose anything's possible. But I'm not sure. If you're going that direction, the safest path would be... Well, from here, I suppose you could pass along the elf path, which our people guard, and then from thence down the great river. As far as the mouths of the Entwash, and then from thence you could cross into Anorian. If you were to go by another path, you might follow the eastern trace of the forest and then cut southwest across the Brownlands in Henneth Anun, but that would be a more difficult road. So it has been a long time since I've been down that way, so I can't really tell you what to expect on the road. But Sunlanding is certainly the name which the men of Rohan and the Northmen call Anorian, and that is in Gondor. I wish I could tell you more.
Do we have a map of all of this that we could put up on one time?
Give me a lore roll.
Alright. Or maybe we could just ask this guy for a map.
Well, there aren't just a lot of printed maps hanging about Middle Earth. Maybe in Elrond's house or in Orthanc. But he very likely doesn't have one. However, as he's describing the names of these places to you, yeah. As he's describing these places to you, let me see if I can get this up real quick. Let's see here. Do. Let's see here. Darn it. Hold on. Technical difficulties. But I do have a sweet map, which I'm going to share a part of.
Is this a folklore or a Mirkwood lore?
This is neither of those things. This is lore specialties that I don't think anyone in this game has because of where you're all from. Alright, so I'm going to add a handout. Choose a file. Open.
My map of Middle Earth says that Anorian translates to Sunland, which I guess I should have known. But
Right, and Minas Anor is, of course, the Tower of the Sun, which has been renamed to Minas Tirith.
I'm so proud of myself for winning a free beer at a trivia night because I was the only person there who could translate the name of Narsil correctly.
Oh man, at Mythmoot 4, which is the Signum's big conference every year in Virginia. Last year we had a trivia contest, and it was a pub trivia night. It was amazing, crazy. But apparently, one previous pub trivia, a previous year that I wasn't there, one of the questions was, "Here's a blank map of Numenor. Fill in all of the place names."
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Mine was just that, I think it was a Geeks Who Drink
Yeah.
Tolkien themed one. My group won. Unfortunately, I wish there was slightly more competition.
Sadly, my group did not win. We crushed the Tolkien and Lewis sections, and then the Harry Potter section came up, and we just bombed. So
yeah, I'm not a Harry Potter person, so
yeah. All right, so can you guys see the map that I just shared?
Yeah.
All right, so if you look at the upper right-hand corner, you see Southern Mirkwood. Right, that's the very south of the map that is on the map screen on Roll20.
Okay.
So if you follow a more or less straight line southwest across the brown lines, across the brown lands, across the Emyn Mule, which is super nice. You should go there sometime. Down across the mouths, down across the mouths of the Entwash, you see Anorian there at the very kind of bottom right, above the White Mountains, west of Mordor, and that range of mountains on the eastern side of the map is Mordor.
Okay.
Really nice. Also, you should go there. So that's where Anorian Sunlanding is. As the crow flies, it's probably what 400 miles, something like that. Maybe a little more.
Can you go back over the travel advice that Lost Two was giving us?
Yeah, so basically said there are two ways to get there. One is you go west through Mirkwood, and you get to the Great River Anduin, which is that river that starts at the top of the screen. That's the Great River of Wilderland. And you follow, basically, you just take the river south down all the way, more or less. The other route that you could go is go down the eastern edge of Mirkwood Forest. You'd have to cross the between the Brownlands and the Dagorlad, and through the Emmen Mule, or go around the Emmen Mule somehow, either through the Dead Marshes or the Brownlands, and come down into Anorian that way.
Very promising names.
Yep.
Places that-
Yep, strongly recommend the Dead Marshes. It's one of the top.
Does it have like 4+ stars on
Yep.
Middle Earth Yelp?
Yep, Middle Earth Yelp. There's a lot of yelping that goes on in the Dead Marshes. So Sophie and I used to play, and like a lot. I used to play a Middle Earth MUD, a text-based MMO, basically. And the Dead Marshes area was amazing because all of the rooms shifted their relationships with each other. So it was a constantly shifting maze, and there's no way you could memorize it. So you just had to sort of find your way out of the Dead Marshes or track somebody else who had already passed through, which is what I always did because I always play Rangers because Rangers are awesome. Anyway, you didn't need to know any of that, but so that's yeah. So those are the sort of the two ways that you could get there from where you are now. But no matter which way you try to spin it, it is a long, long way.
Yeah, it looks like it.
That is where Anorian is.
We have to do that.
No, you don't have to.
Anorian?
Yeah, Anorian is the Sindarin name. That's the name it would be referred to in Gondor, but in the speech of the Northmen, it's Sunlending. They
And
both.
That's just south of the mouths of the Innswatch.
Yep.
Okay.
And the I don't know if you can see this because I don't know if it's doomed. Sorry, I don't know if it's zoomed in enough. Sorry, little slip of the tongue there. But the sacred mountain of Halathirion is on the western side there.
Sacred Mountain Halathirion?
Yeah, Halathirion.
Yeah, I can see it. It's tiny, but I can see it. Cool.
All right.
Nice.
Well,
Right. Well,
here. Appreciate all of the information you've been giving us.
Sorry, I could not be of more help.
Well, do you know of anyone who could possibly guide us on this journey? If we were to take this journey.
A guide. There are almost none among our people who have made this journey before, or at least in a very long time, not since the Dagor lad. There was a man among our people for a while who might have been able to guide you, but he has since passed away to other deeds, and your best bet might be to find a trader who moves up and down the Great River, or to speak with perhaps Radagast the Brown. He might know someone who could guide you as far as Anorian. But as the shadow in the east lengthens, the traffic between the lands of the north and those of the south has diminished. The Anduin is really the only safe mode of travel now, and even then, many traders disembark when they reach the Argonath and go around through the Eastfold and come down by the Great West Road to Minas Tirith that way. The passage of the river as far as between Rauros and Osgiliath, perhaps, is very uncertain. At least that's what I've heard from the traders who have come as far as Esgaroth. But again, Radagast would know what someone who might be able to lead you.
Do you know where I could find Radagast these days?
Well, as a rule, he stays at Rosgobel. Rosgobel is on the western side of Mirkwood, southwest side. So if you look at our map, it's right here.
Yeah.
So that's only, 200 miles west and 400 miles south or something like that. It's not really that far.
Well, it's kind of
Close to Sunstead.
on the way though, right?
Yeah, it's across the east bight from Sunstead, yeah.
Yeah. Comparatively close, considering where we're coming from.
Yeah. It's just a short hop, skip, and a jump through Mirkwood to get to
Yeah. Exactly.
to get
Easy.
to
Nothing
get to
too
Rosgobel.
Take the dwarf road.
This will be fine.
The fastest way there.
What could possibly go wrong?
Through the mountain.
Hey, no, there's an idea. We haven't tried that one yet.
Ancient Dwarven Mine? Sounds good. Let's do it. All right.
Well,
So, go ahead.
like everything I've learned from Lustir today. Your hospitality is always very good, Lustir. I will speak highly of you. I see our king.
You're very generous, and I of you as well. Calimirith, is there anything that I can do to aid you?
I think my companion has asked everything that I would have.
Very good.
I must second his thanks for your hospitality.
Well, may it's hard to know what well wishes to give to those who would think to undertake such a great journey as you have ahead of you, but may the thoughts and the hopes of all the free people of Ravanian go with you. All right, dwarves and Warsong. What are you guys doing?
We gotta find Tudila. I guess we should. Did anybody ever tell us where he actually ended up, or if he's alive, or do we
Nope.
go? Okay. I guess we can go track down this burger. And
I
the
mean,
guy?
it was mentioned at the trial that the Easterlings currently had him as he was
Right.
But
Because
they
these
were
were
very tight-lipped about where exactly he was, and they absolutely refused to bring him out, even though.
well, because his condition was so fragile. He has a fever.
Yeah,
Someone
well,
cracked him over the skull.
And stabbed him.
I don't trust them. I figure they don't care if he's dead. In fact, they might be happy to help him along. That
Yep.
was my read on the situation.
Yep. In
All right.
fact,
Well, then I guess we
Jack's
go
still alive.
knock on Lada's door.
I love how we just keep going back to, right, these people hate us. We'll just go knock on the door. Let's just.
Well, I mean, we could just start kicking down the door. I'm all for that.
Is it Blake's door you want to be knocking on?
Well, he hasn't been back for a few days.
It's been one day, right? He's still not expected back. Right? Has it been one day? No, this is the second night.
Yeah, second night now.
He left in the middle of the night, and then it's been a day, a night, and we're the next day.
Yep.
So a little more than 24 hours.
Yep.
Okay.
And I mean, sometimes he leaves for long hunting trips. It's a pretty normal thing that he did. So.
Yeah, I think 3 or 4 days was like
Yeah.
they were expecting him to be gone for at least that long.
We should have. I wonder. How do we? No, that's gonna look hella suspicious. There's pretty much nothing we can do here that's gonna actually result in a civil discourse at this juncture.
Okay, so I'm wondering if we could hire someone.
To kick down their door for us, or talk to us, or what?
I am pretty sure kicking down doors is part of what got us here.
Right, but I mean, I'm just wondering how dedicated are you to this relationship that you're hoping that Tudela and his Lady Lev are going to have?
I'm not committed to the relationship. I'm committed to keeping the two of them alive. We've been told that Regalia is going to be killed, and Tudelia they've already tried to kill.
Right, so if
And
we're
by the
going to
way,
keep
we're
them
not
alive,
having this conversation after having knocked on the door. We haven't actually gone to his house yet.
Too late! No, I'm kidding.
so you're right. So I'm saying, I feel like if we're trying to save these people's lives from these savage slaveholders, I feel like probably we should expect this to get violent. I think probably, unfortunately, that may be where we're at this point.
I think we should be prepared for violence, but try to find other alternatives, as opposed to going into it and us being the one to start the violence.
Right, we just go there and bait them.
But that's what I'm saying. If we send somebody else who they're not expecting, like if we'd done that when we tried to buy Regalia, like if we just sent somebody else.
Still not down with the whole buying of people idea.
Well, but
Just to be clear.
it was us that he wasn't listening to, and then maybe somebody else.
All right. Well, who do you know
Let's go.
that would be willing to go into the lion's teeth, as it were?
I'd rather go kick down the door.
Yes, I figured you might.
It's much easier that way.
A lot more expensive.
I mean, I don't know how many Easterlings are in there, so easy might not be what's the right word for it, but
How many wereguilds are you prepared to pay?
well,
They'll have to catch me first.
Yes.
I think they did that before.
Yep.
what if we say we've got their boss later, and we tell them that if they ever want to see him again, then they've got to bring Regalia and Tudela alive to the opposite side of the lake.
I think it would be awfully hard to explain that in a trial.
Well, at that point, we don't have a trial. We rescue Tudela and Regalia, send them on their merry way, and then run off to the deep south. They unbury the various graves and discover that Lady has been horribly poisoned by some horrible flying things.
After being stabbed and axed and...
I mean, do any of us look like horrible flying things? I'm assuming probably their forensic skills aren't that good, so I'm guessing they probably won't make that the particular differential. But I mean, I'm trying to figure out how. I mean, let's figure out some actual plans here, as opposed to what won't work. Okay, so we don't want to kick down their door and have a massive brawl, because not only will we not survive that, but probably if we don't get outlawed, we will be bankrupted and generally probably banned from Lake Town for all time. So I mean, technically, kicking down the door not an option. Probably at this point, especially given that Blade is not home to do business, and will never be home to do business within the next month.
Yeah.
We're not really going to be able to barter for
forever.
Right. That's what I mean. I mean, unless he comes back as some sort of drugger, which that could happen. Um,
What if we had a would Regalia know where they had Judelia? But if we could
so
get
so you
contact with her, like if we could get contact with somebody, even if it was through someone else, like if or get contact with Regalia or get contact like if he is given medical care at all, if we could figure out who is actually the one doing the medical care or helping or something like that, somebody in the household who's not a guard, then that might give us a place to start.
We can
so
send it to the
so
elves.
I suppose that's true. Um,
They have been seen with us though, so
I mean, okay, so here's so theoretically, just laying it out here, our options are some form of clandestine communication through Julia, which will probably involve some sort of burglary, just to be honest. Given that she's clearly under house arrest and probably not exactly going to be answering the door, especially for us. B, we send in a stranger who will hopefully have not be murdered and will actually understand what we're trying to do. Someone they have that they will not connect with us in any way, but yet is also willing to lay it all down the line for us. Those are the two options I'm hearing right now. Correct me if I'm wrong.
if well, we don't know how locked down Regalia is. We're assuming she is. And I think that's probably a reasonable assumption, but until we try to make contact somehow, I mean,
All right, then
is there a fake business thing that could happen while Blada was gone? Because that's the thing, like something that's not harmful.
they're all
to
packing
him or
up to
anybody.
leave. So I wonder if our wine merchant friend could offer to buy his remaining stock.
Oh, he's been threatened, but we can always talk to him and see, like,
Yeah, that's
That
true.
would-
He's probably not going to be particularly excited to help us.
but again, that's an assumption we're making.
That's true.
Like buying his own stock, like buying stock that would be helpful to him.
um,
And that might, like, if somebody could at least see Regalia or manage to get contact with her somehow.
I mean, theoretically, we could also actually break into the house in the dead of night. So we shall actually have some burglary skills.
He has burglar skills.
Mad burglary.
All right, guys, what you doing?
All right.
Nor looks at Angie suspiciously.
You're looking at me suspiciously, mate.
Or not Blada, the other wine merchant, the good wine merchant. Who
All right.
gets
So do you
killed.
say so your
Ulfgar.
suggestion is that we talk to Ulfar, get him to arrange a meeting, during which time we sneak in, or potentially Ulfar determines the status of a couple of completely unrelated servants.
Yeah. Volcar sneaks in.
At this point, as you guys are having this conversation in the common room of the Listing Raven,
We are not having it in the common room. I was specifically saying that we were not having it in a place that we were being overheard.
I did. Did I say?
say-
Did I say you were overheard? Okay, fine. Where are you having this conversation?
In a private area.
Okay.
Are not there.
Then ignore what I was saying. What are you guys doing?
I really want to know what was going to happen now.
Curiosity killed the party.
Well, I think possibly.
No,
also,
No, it just killed the cat.
all right.
Thanks, PJ.
Yeah, we need that clarification. Okay. All right. Well, so we approach Ulfar. We get Ulfar to arrange a
To
meeting.
start with his daughter.
I mean, again, though, we're not actually getting any closer to actually finding out anything
But we would know what happened to him.
to Dilla. Oh, that's true.
No.
Well,
If we talked to the daughter, then we'd know what they threatened him with.
okay.
And then move on to him.
Okay, I guess that's a good place to start then. Maybe get a little more information to hopefully formulate a plan. Okay, in that case, let's go talk to Olafar before this takes any
Okay.
longer.
Okay. So, as the elves are having this really pleasant conversation with Lost Ear, the three of you make your way over to Olfar's house, which you visited, like a number of times this adventuring phase.
We don't have any other friends, do we? We don't, right?
I mean, you know people in town, but as you come to the door, you knock on the door, and after you waiting for a moment, it opens just a crack, and you see a single kind of bright blue eye staring out at you from the darkness. Yes? Oh, it's you.
not-
Hello, Anna.
We wanted to check on you. It sounded like your father had some difficulty on our account.
Mostly on Noel's account.
You're not wanted by the law or anything this time.
No, and we don't have any refugees, and we don't have any people who have been stabbed or injured or wounded.
I mean, Warsong has been wounded, but that's not really your problem.
She kind of shuffles her own cloak to like hide the bandages.
Alright, look. Just so father gets back. She opens the door.
What? Warsong walks in with Sigrun. And she is keeping quite close.
What is it you want?
I wanted to know what happened. As I said, it seemed as if you may have come to some trouble on our account.
You mustn't think unkindly of father. It's just that I'm all he has. And,
They threatened you?
yes.
I see.
The thought of losing me is... He's a good man. If there are things that he has done that were not good, it was always for me.
Well, so, well, I don't suppose your father would be up for doing us a bit of a favour, would he then? Probably not.
Warsong kind of.
A favour?
Well, mostly we're looking for into some sort of into a blighter's house.
Didn't you hear that they've moved?
I sort of thought that was going to happen, but and they actually gone, left town, skedaddled.
I think there are still a few servants putting up things, but most of it was cleared out last night.
Oh, well, do you have any idea where they went?
They said south before, but I don't know.
Did they perhaps leave behind a couple of bodies?
Bodies.
Maybe, I don't know, in barrels, in the cellar. I'm spitballing here. If I was an evil douchebag from the Eastern and I don't really want to take with
I
me.
mean, if you mean father, he's all right. They haven't hurt him.
No, actually,
No,
I didn't bother. He would be.
We didn't think they would hurt him, but. One of
Oh,
the
sorry,
servants
you
is-
cut out, babe. Sorry, say again.
They'd hurt your father. But we are concerned about our friend Tudelia, who has been traveling with us.
Oh, he's the one that she looks
That it
kind of
was-
uneasily at Nar.
Yes, you've seen him. He wasn't in a good state then.
Yes, they said he died in the night.
Whoa.
That was what I was afraid of. And also, Regalia.
Fever or something, but
But you saw him. It wasn't fever.
pretty good knot on his head, but
You saw blood. It didn't come from that.
Oi.
One of the household servants. They call her a wife. Was my friend,
I see.
and they said that she would not be living much longer either, and I had hoped to rescue her somehow. I would purchase her because it's their custom, or rescue her. Being what I am, my axe is. I picture a wild rescue, but
You're very strange people, you know that. I can never tell if you're trying to ruin people's lives or save them.
it does get a little confusing.
Let's say that crosses over surprisingly often.
I don't know about Regalia.
Was perhaps to delay his death throes on your table, whispering her name, and just wondering. I feel like that would add a bit of romantic colour to this particular bit of an adventure.
I don't recall. It was a very busy night.
Right, just wondering.
I don't know which direction they've left. Of course, all the Easterlings seem to come from the east, but if they were headed away south, I can't imagine they'd have left without Blader. He's away hunting, so
Oh, this is good. Yeah.
so I don't suppose they can have gone far.
Not, yeah. Well then, like you, Anna, I believe we've got to go visit his house and see what servants remain.
I think you are right.
If there's any way that we can, or I can compensate your father for the trouble my friend here, and I suppose the rest of us put him in, let me know. I'd be more than willing to, I don't know, buy a couple of casks of nicer wine for a fair price if necessary.
Well, as it happens, there is one thing. He mentioned it before to your friend here.
God. We
Yes.
can't give him a bit of a contract, as it were. Well, I suppose I can mention it. We've got to go back up there before this whole thing is over.
Well, if it's good enough for the Elven King, it should be good enough for Bard.
One would hope.
That would go a long way to mending relations.
Well then, as long as my friends here remind me, I have a bit of a... I've been hit on the head a few times. I will endeavour to talk to Vaughn himself, or possibly Digrid, and about your father's vintages.
Denethel and Calamirith. Sorry, Denethor. Blah, 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 blah. Been a really long day, you guys.
Speech of Mordor.
I was literally in meetings at work today from 9 until 3.
Oh boy.
It was just the longest day. It was like 2 meetings, and between the two of them, it was from 9 till 3. Anyway, so I would like the two of you, as you're leaving Lost Deer's house, to give me awareness rolls.
Okay.
I guess it's like, wait, how do I roll dice again? Because we haven't done anything this whole game. Alright, Calamirith, as you are leaving Denethor's house, You you kind of glance up above you and you hear. Sorry, you're not leaving Denethor's house. Ah! As you were leaving Lost Deer's house, so tired. As you're leaving Lost Deer's house, you kind of look up above you in the sky overhead, and you see some of the gulls of the lake kind of circling and screaming, kind of screeching out to each other. And as you kind of listen to their song for a moment, your eyes shift over to the towards the eastern shore, which is almost directly across the lake from where you are now. And you see, from the eastern shore of the lake, what appears to be a single column of black smoke slowly rising into the air.
Can I tell whether it is the same point on the lakeshore where we fought the Easterlings?
It is definitely the same point.
Remind me, did we make the cairn on the lakeshore, or was it in the forest?
It was on the lake shore.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we know, how do Easterlings treat their dead? Do they burn them, or?
Give me a lore roll. All right. Easterlings do sacrifice. They burn their dead, and typically speaking, if the person who died is not of status, their body will be burned along with, basic goods that they would need in the afterlife. So weapons, food, maybe even armor. But if they're a person of status, then the burial mound is likely to be considerably larger. It will include horses, slaves, wives.
Oh no.
Stinks.
So, I would be justified in assuming that they probably found the burial mound and have temporarily exhumed our friend Leda to give him a proper burial.
And Regilia's being burned alive right now.
We should go find our friends and tell them about this before they do something foolish.
Too late!
They
Too
do.
late!
Denethor's just getting his health back.
Just feeling better.
And he just generally sucks at fighting.
I mean, Denethor with folklore as a wanderer, you know that these ceremonies tend to be fairly protracted.
Good.
For whatever that's worth.
Like, hours or days?
Usually, more hours than days, but, I mean, typically speaking, there are, days of isolation and ritual purification for any human sacrifices. Though it's possible some of that's being shortcutted here, but then, I mean, there are, fairly extensive rituals that you go through. Actually have them written up. They're just not at all pleasant. So anyway, so I mean, it's a fairly extensive process. It's not like we make a pile and then just burn everything. Like it's kind of an all day thing.
But it looks like they're already burning, so
Something is definitely on fire.
I don't want to bank on having too much time. I mean, I don't think we should dilly-dally.
No, you should definitely take your time. That's totally what I was trying to say. All right, so what are you two doing?
I guess we should make our way back to Lake Town. That's where we last saw our friends.
Would it be beneficial to find Lake Town guard or soldiers and inform them of the fire?
We should definitely find a park ranger.
Yeah.
Park ranger. I want to see like a little meme with Bjorn in a park ranger hat now.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
All right. So what are you two doing?
Remind me again how far away this is from where we are.
It's on the other side of the lake. It's across the lake. It's called the Long Lake. It's a pretty big lake. With your elven sight, you can see the other side, but it's a few miles wide. I mean, obviously, the fastest way there would be by boat.
You also couldn't sneak.
The next best thing would be if you had a very fast horse, you could go around the southern tip of the lake.
But we don't want to. I mean,
But then you have to cross a river, so.
yeah, we don't really want to go to the other side, though, do we?
Yes. Why would we not want to?
You're not there.
Possibly people to rescue, right? But I mean, we don't really know that.
I mean, you know.
You know that. We told you the story.
Yeah, you heard that entirely coherent story that Angi told. No, I mean, you guys have been hanging around with the rest of the party for the last couple of days, and you were there at the trial. So, I mean, I would say that if Augusta, being new to the game, knew enough to put 2 and 2 together, that.
Yeah.
What do you want to do, Calibrant?
I mean, it's a horrible barbaric custom, and it's unfortunate that
I guess
anyone has to die, but I don't think we want to get embroiled in these Lake Town politics. It's already a pretty sticky wicket. And, yeah,
I think our options are either we go and investigate now, or we go find our friends and see what they're up to.
If we find our friends, they're probably going to want to drag us into some nonsense.
They are our
Undoubtedly.
I think we should probably find them and tell them. I mean, I don't think the two of us going over there and trying to stop a burial rite is going to A, be effective, or B, be politic.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so what are you guys doing?
Well, we're gonna go find the rest of the party.
All right. Since you, I mean, I guess probably when you parted ways, they would have told you where they were going. So, yeah. So you head back into town. Takes you, about. It takes you a little while to get back to town. What are the rest of you who are leaving Ulfar's? What are y'all doing?
I think we're going to Blada's house, right? We were going to check up on
Okay.
the various servantage that was left behind.
Yep. All right. So, would you knocking on the door, or what are you doing?
Do we, as we walk up, do we notice that there's anything out of the ordinary? Do we notice that there's like, I don't know.
I mean, it looks like somewhere right after a move, right? So a lot of the doors are sort of open, and there's a lot of there's still a few people moving some last odds and ends into carts and things like that on the road. But there are a few Easterlings about. There are a few men of the lake who are acting as basically as porters. But it seems mostly empty.
All right, can we tag one of the men of the lake then?
Sure.
I walk up to one of the porters. Excuse me, sir. Have you by chance?
A very heavy-set woman turns around
Oh,
and stares you down, Angi.
hello. I'm a dwarf. I'm sorry about that. We have the same problem in our culture. Anyway, have have you by chance seen a young, apparently attractive human female going by the name Rugelia, and or a mostly dead servant boy by the name of Tudela on the premises while you have been packaging their house?
She squints.
I can pay you.
She's. I don't know anyone by that name. No.
Do I believe her?
Give me an insight roll. You had that ready. Dang. She seems to be telling the truth.
Is there any of their servants left behind?
She points over to where two Easterlings are putting things in one of the carts.
Oh, alright. Unless there's some objection, I'm going over to the Easterlings.
Do it.
Alright. Excuse me.
One of the Easterlings stops and turns to look at you, and you recognize the steward, Yildig, who had been Nar's prosecutor at the trial the previous day.
Yildig, my friend, you got left behind.
He kind of narrows his eyes at you. What are you doing here?
Well, I was seeing as the old seed of all discontent and general right. I'm looking for Tudela.
Oh, didn't you hear? It was very sad. He died in the night.
You know,
A fever
I was told.
from his wound.
So I was told. It's a real shame. What did you happen to do with the body?
Oh, it has been gathered to our people. It will be he will be buried in honor, in a way that is traditional to our people.
Well, he was a friend, so to speak. He and I, we went
Is
through
that
some-
why you struck him across the back of the head?
I know that old dwarves look alike, but that actually wasn't me. Yeah, this was my, yeah, right. Well, anyway, water under the bridge. I was wondering if when he did pass away, yeah, we might be able to pay our respects. Since, we did go to some significant trouble to get him back to Lake Town and all. You might even say we was mates.
You were. I'm sorry. What?
Buddies, pals. We hung together. You know, I and them and us.
Well, if you would like to pay your respects, and a slow smile creeps across his face. You may be a little late to the funeral.
All right, funeral, and where would that be?
He kind of motions his thumb back away eastward. It seems that our great leader, Bleda, came to an unfortunate and untimely demise.
Hey, that's a shame. A right shame. Oh, I understand he was.
Oh,
He
indeed.
was on the edge of something big. Maybe even taking over the old wine market here in the old town.
It is true, he had many enemies.
Well, a man of ambition is never without enemies. So I'm told.
Indeed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have...
Real quick, I know that Regalia, how is she taking all this? My friend here, Warsong, she and Regalia, they sort of hit it off on the 2 times they ever met. I was sort of, she seemed to be pretty fond of that Tudela bloke. And I was wondering how she's taking it, the poor sweetheart.
Oh,
For the death of her husband.
I am...
Right, that too!
She's, of course, broken-hearted.
Oh, anything we could do for her? Maybe, I don't know. No, he might be able to knock her over the head, make her feel a little better or something.
I do not think that will be necessary.
Alright, but on all seriousness, might we have a word with her?
I'm sure you could find her at the funeral.
Alright, well then the funeral is somewhere to the east. Well then, I suppose that's where we'll be going. Thank you, sir. And, I hope we meet again someday under better circumstances, wherein you are not trying to prosecute my friend and put his head on a pokey stick.
Believe me, should we meet again, I will not be trying to prosecute your friend.
Well, that's good. That's good. Maybe we can drink about it then. All right. I pat his shoulder, which is, I guess, a bit of a reach, and I guess we go to the east.
Wait,
So at this point,
isn't it a little suspicious that you know that you have to go to the east?
He pointed to the east, didn't he?
Oh, he did he?
he did. He actually did. He actually did.
Okay,
It wasn't the metagaming pigeon sitting on his shoulder.
Ooh, ooh.
So about this time, Denethor and Kalimirith, you find your friends as they're standing in the street outside of Blada's house.
Can I do a lore roll? Am I likely to know what funerals entail?
Sure, give me a lore roll.
I don't know if I have any applicable. No, I don't.
You definitely have some inkling, just based on the stories that you have heard of these but strange Easterners and their ways.
So I would probably she had the sense of urgency, like this isn't a show at some point. It's a get there as quick as you can.
Yeah. So at this point, Denethor and Kalimirith find you guys as you're standing out in front of Blada's house. Blada's ex-house?
Yep.
The house of the late Blada. There we go.
All right. Are we trying to talk him out of it, Calamari?
You don't know. We know about it.
It's true.
Well,
You guys walk up and find them standing in front of Blada's house. Scene.
Find you.
I think I'm just worried about damage control, since in our brief relationship with these people, we know that they are rather impetuous.
You have no idea. Hello, our friends. Would you happen to know what's appropriate to wear to an Easterling funeral? Apparently, that's the only way we're going to get to see poor departed Dudila. Deported.
Ah, so you figured out about that before we were going to tell you, but
About a funeral.
yes, we can see the smoke rising across the lake. They discovered our handiwork, shall we say.
Right, you did discover that they discovered that. Discovery kind of day. Well, in that case, if that's where they're having it, then I say we hire a boat. And, wear, I don't know, black? Do they wear black to these funerals? We could find some black to, I don't know, drape around ourselves in solemnity.
Why don't we just go to the funeral?
Right, but you don't just want to show up with wielding weapons and saying, "Where is the party?" Especially when we didn't really get along and all. We might, funeral crashing is a time-honored tradition among certain more savage folks, but I would like to think that that's not us. So does anyone know how you're supposed to go to an Easterling funeral? Anyone?
So you're determined to go.
Well, I doubt very much that Tudela is entirely 100% dead, and also that Rubilia isn't going to make out of this funeral, nearly bereaved.
Walking towards the docks.
Right.
Four sounds like we're going.
See? She met her twice, and she was so charmed that now we're going to crash a funeral. It's the power of love, I tell you.
All right, are you guys all headed towards the docks?
If only to keep my friends alive.
I'll follow them to the docks, but I'm not
On the other hand, Calimera, this could be
interested in.
an excellent cultural experience. Have you ever been to an Eastern funeral? Oh,
I
I bet you
can't
haven't in
say
all
I
your
have,
all your thousands of years of elven lifespan. I haven't been either, and I've only been alive like 100 years.
I would also prefer not to go to my own funeral.
Well, you know what? I usually hear that most people are dead for that.
Yes, well, that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid, Master Dwarf.
I mean, I think he's got you there, Calimera. All right.
That's exactly what I'm trying to avoid.
Well, the longer we keep talking,
Yeah, apparently Warsong's not talking. Apparently Warsong's just headed for the
Yeah.
docks.
All right.
Because if she has to convince you to go, then you need to not go. And if you don't need to be convinced, if you already know that you need to go, then
Here's the other
welcome to
thing.
join her.
If these people have been so far inside the Dark Lady's pocket that apparently she was willing to take unwanted servants, just, I don't know, to torture for, I guess. So, you know, I feel that in keeping with our ongoing vendetta and general hatred of the Morrowind, we should do this for Tudela and generally to screw them over. Because they suck.
All right. So, the question is, will Baragond of the Guard save Lord Faramir from being burnt? Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's the wrong book. All right, so we're going to stop.
These those personal reasons that last year warned us against.
You want me to pull out my shoe again?
All right, so we will. It's 10:45, and I have another super long day tomorrow, so we're gonna call it right there. And this adventure is never gonna. But it's so good. Okay, so in 2 weeks we'll pick up again, and we will crash a funeral. Apparently, that is what we are doing now.
It wouldn't
So.
be the first funeral we've crashed.
It's alright, I feel like we're checking some important campaign boxes in this adventuring phase. We did an epic tower crawl, and we had a court case, and we bludgeoned beloved NPCs nearly to death, and now we're crashing a funeral. So it's just kind of getting everything.
And yeah, I mean, we did also try and crash a wedding. So this, I feel like there's a bit of a. No, that wasn't Ungi that did that. That was another dwarf.
What was that? Oh, you did try to crash a wedding. It was a long time ago. All right, that was so long ago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for playing. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves, and we will crash an Easterling wedding, which means that all of these notes, funeral, which means that all of these notes which I have on Easterling funerals will not be wasted.
Yay! I take it you don't have any notes yet?
No, I have so many notes.
He has notes.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
So, yeah, cool, very good. Well, I'm excited to see if you guys get there in time and what happens if you do or don't. Yeah. So, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Welcome back, Augusta. Good night.
Good night.
Yes, so.
Okay.
What'd you say?
1 XP.
Oh, yeah, 1 XP for tonight. You guys did not accomplish any major goals. Good night.